Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. So there's a new trend around now and it's called fan blaming, customer blaming, consumer blaming. We're being blamed for the lack of quality coming out of entertainment today, coming out of Hollywood. Now, this is exactly what Tessa Smith at Mama's Geeky has done. She is a content creator. You may recognize her from such early movie reactions as every movie release. She's always there. It's the bestest movie ever. So let's read what at Mama's Geeky has had to say. This industry is dying. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Unfortunately, when the quality of films plummet because the majority of people want to stream movies at home, those who refuse to go to theatres to support incredible films better not complain. First of all, don't you ever tell me, the consumer, or my fellow fans or my fellow consumers or fans of movies, that they cannot complain. Don't you ever tell the customer they cannot complain. But anyway, let's break this up. What she's saying here is exactly what people in the industry want you to think. That it's our fault, not theirs. Maybe, Tessa, the lack of quality coming out of Hollywood today is the reason people refuse to watch movies in theatres and wait until they come out on streaming. Maybe that's the real reason. But she's blaming the reason for the lack of quality that people refuse to come out to theatres, which is the biggest bullshit I have ever heard. So she's standing with her overlords in the entertainment industry because she has access. She wants to continue to have access, and that's the reality of the situation. This is not a content creator. This is an influencer. She's not on your side. She's on her paymaster's side. And it's the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard. Let me give you an analogy. Basically, this is what Tessa's saying. I go into a restaurant, right? There's a fly in my soup. I complain about the fly in my soup, and the manager comes up and blames me. And if you keep on complaining about that fly in that soup, or if you refuse to come to my restaurant because I have flies in my soups, right, then, you know, I'm going to keep on putting flies in my soups. It makes no sense. It's without any logic. So, Tessa, you are absolutely wrong. But how dare you tell the customer they have no right to complain because they refuse to go to movie theatres because the lack of quality coming from Hollywood is lacking. Let's talk about The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy is yet another reimagining, and this time it's from a successful TV series from the 80s called The Fall Guy, starring Lee Majors as Colt Seavers. Now, Colt Seavers is a bounty hunter stroke stuntman. So he's a stuntman, but in his spare time to make extra money, he goes after people who skip bail. 5 seasons, brilliant show. It weren't that deep. It weren't Game of Thrones or anything like that. But it was a lot of fun. It had big action. It had a great theme song at the beginning. And it was a great show. It was highly entertaining. And I mean, personally, if I'm in the room when they're pitching this reimagining of this series, I'm going to say, you are joking. Who actually wants to see this? Is there an audience for a stuntman movie? Is there an audience or a reimagination of The Fall Guy? Most people who went to see this film would have never have heard of The Fall Guy. I mean, when I went to see Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, the only reason I knew there was a show in the 50s and 60s starring David Jensen. Or Jansen, is it David Jansen? Jensen is the old DJ, ain't he? Anyway, yeah, it's because my father used to speak to me about his mother loving that old original black and white series. Or I wouldn't have known. It's the same thing with every generation. Most people, most people will think this is an original movie. In fact, the supporters of this movie are claiming that this is an original movie. it's not. And it's very, very interesting, isn't it? Now, if you look at the cast, which are, we'll talk about the two leads, whose name, yeah, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. You know what I'm like with names. And they're famous. But yeah, first of all, you have to look at this. Now, obviously this studio is getting its little influencers to come out and blame us, because it can never be their fault, can it? To be fair, the marketing of this movie was okay. There wasn't any gaslighting that like there normally is with marketing today. And Ryan Gosling is all right. You know, and Emily Blunt is all right. But we have to ask the question, are these two actors that can bring people to the movie theatre? Well, there is no movie stars anymore. Ryan Gosling is probably as close as you get to a movie star, but I don't believe he can put a lot of butts on a lot of seats. It's pretty obvious to me that this film wasn't ever going to make much money. It's not a surprise, but they've spent a hell of a lot of money on marketing. They really believed this was a good idea to make this film. And the way the marketing went was for support of stunt people. I don't believe they have any support of stunt people, but it was the bullshit they were going with. But at least it's the old-fashioned bullshit rather than, you know, the gaslighting of the audience and the normal shit that they say. Now, people have said this is a really, really good movie. It's a great movie. And it's really funny if we look here. This is what she says as well. Basically, those who refuse to go to theatres to support incredible films better not complain. Well, Tessa, when was the last time you saw an incredible film? We know that you say every film you go and see for free. Actually, you don't pay to go and see movies, do you? So you're the one who doesn't have any right to complain, not us. We pay, right? What's clear here is, with this low box office, people didn't feel the need to go and see this movie. And it's like everything in life. If there's a new coat, if there's a new song out, sometimes people are not interested. And clearly not enough people were interested. You can't blame people for not being interested in a product. It's like what I said earlier. There's not the interest in this movie. It's not the movie's fault. It's not the director's fault. But is there any way they could have saved this movie? Could there have been better leads out there who could have been in this movie? I don't know if it's the casting that's the problem. But what's clear about this movie is it's nothing like the TV series. The TV series, as I say, was very, very entertaining, and it was great. So I think they went away from what the show was, but I still don't believe there was money, big money, to be made from this movie. And this is the thing, isn't it? The people running the studios, the people who pitch the next movie idea are clueless, shouldn't be in the positions they're in. But this is a very successful content creator, and congratulations, or should I say influencer. That's what you are, Tessa. You're an influencer. You're not a content creator. You're not a lover of films at all. You're just an influencer, and that's how you make your money, and we all know that. But instead of being honest and genuine, she's come out with this bullshit. That's thunder. That's thunder. Yeah, it's really wild here. Did you hear that? That's scary, isn't it? Anyway, so hopefully I don't get struck down while I'm doing this video. It's probably Tessa come here to strike me down. But anyway, you know, she talks about, you know, she's saying that the quality of films plummets because the majority of people wait to stream movies. So she's blaming us. She's blatantly blaming the customer. How can you do that? The reason people are not going is because the quality has plummeted. It's the extremism within Hollywood. The natural, you know, the natural order of the way they used to make films is gone. That's the way. We used to have beautiful looking, talented people starring in films. And that's why there's no film stars. They were good looking, they were beautiful people, they had character, they had personality, they could act, they could lead a movie. That's not what we're getting today. And then there's the development of the movies, the writing of the movies. You know, people don't, first of all, people don't trust access media anymore. They don't trust Hollywood anymore. We don't trust that we're going to get a good movie. The relationship between studio and consumer has broken. The trust between consumer and director has broken. We don't trust them because they're blatantly telling us they do not like us, that they have no respect for us. That's the truth, Tessa. I'm speaking the truth. Why can't you speak the truth? Instead of blaming the fans. This is disgusting. So going back to the Fall Guy, is there anything they could have done to make this more successful? No, I don't think this was... If you make a cheap movie about this former series, and you know, you don't put so much in the marketing, they've made this movie and they've invested in this movie like it's going to be a big hitter. They should have known. If I knew it wasn't going to be a big hitter, they should have known as well. But there's a lot to this, because Tessa at Mama's Geeky has opened up a can of worms that I like to talk about, because she's right. There is a decline in Hollywood. They're not making the money there was. And when you've got directors and influencers going on social media saying, go and see this movie, we're not your slaves. We're not your bitches. For you to get us in cinemas, there's got to be a reason. And the truth is, there's nothing wrong with this picture. The point is, it's not a picture people were ever going to go in and watch in their droves. And there's another situation here now. The young people, Gen Z, as they call them, are not going to cinemas in their droves. They can't attract, you know, the current generation. When have you ever heard in Hollywood history, in entertainment history, of that being a thing? My generation were going to cinemas to watch E.T., to watch Gremlins, you know, etc., etc., etc. Star Wars, indie, you know, the smaller movies we used to go and watch as well. You know, something like Outrageous Fortune, a very little movie starring Shelley Long and Bette Midler in the late 80s. So it wasn't just the big movies we were going to. We were going to the other ones. One of the things that we had, and Hollywood used to have from the 1930s, is they tapped into different genres. They stopped tapping into different genres. They started focusing on franchises. And then they noticed that superheroes began to be a thing. And then franchises. You know, so they decided to go for franchises and superheroes. And basically, and I said it at the time, even though I'm a big, as you all know, a big fan of superheroes, especially DC, especially Superman, etc., etc., etc. I was even saying it, you know, where's the variety? They're just doing, it's all about superheroes now and franchises. And, you know, they cut their own throats. And then there's the extremism, there's the extreme left mindset in entertainment today. It's the way they talk about their ideologies during the marketing. I don't think New Hollywood understand the meaning of what marketing means. Marketing is supposed to be a way to attract your audience to your product. And you're not doing that. You're talking about trans ideology. You're talking about, you know, LGBTQ ideology. But you're not talking about the film. You're talking about bad men. You're talking about sexual harassment. You're talking about all these different things. You're talking about pay discrepancies for women, for female actors. You're talking about all this stuff. You're constantly gaslighting your audience instead of talking about the picture, the great love you have for the picture, you know, the character dynamics, the motivations of your characters. You're not talking about these things mostly. Now, to be fair, the Fall Guy didn't do this. The Fall Guy had a positive marketing campaign, and that's one of the problems today. There are many reasons why people are not going to cinemas in their droves. Now, we all know that Deadpool and Wolverine will make a hell of a lot of money and people will go there. Because this is what the industry's done. It's put the consumer on this sugar drip of nostalgia, cameos, Easter eggs, and the next superhero movie. Now, a lot of superhero movies are not doing so well anymore. This one probably will. But this is what people are going to see. And this is the problem. People don't want to see. You know, because this generation of moviegoers have been drip-fed on fast-paced CGI movies. And they don't want to see anything else. Because you've got them used to one thing. So there's many, many reasons why film is suffering. So, you know, you can't fix it by what she's saying. She's saying all that has to happen is that the consumer goes to theatres in their droves, no matter the shit that's putting out there. She calls it great movies. I call it mid-shit. She thinks it's our duty to support every crappy movie they're making today. And I'm saying, if you've got the right people in place to pitch the right movie ideas, and they're using the same directors, the same producers, it's a vicious circle. They should be stalking film schools for the latest graduates to find the future pioneers. They're not doing that. They need to, they need to look outside their own DNA. They need to look outside California for filmmakers and actors. They need to look for the future movie stars, because we don't have any real movie stars. They've got these quotas now. We've spoken about these quotas before. You know, they're saying, oh, look, you're black, you're dude. Don't worry if you can't act your way out of a paper bag. You're fine. We want to look like we're being, inclusive. So there's lots of issues. It's not just one issue why Hollywood is suffering. But it isn't our fault. And to blame the fans, the consumer, the customer, like Tessa has done here, is utterly toxic. And it shows that she's on the side of the industry and not the customer. These types of people are killing the industry. And here's another problem. The entertainment industry want to look like that they're modern and they do things the modern way. But they're still paying for these influencers to get early screenings so they can say it's the bestest movie ever, right? We no longer believe them. We know they're fucking lying because they want to keep their access. We can't trust verified critics anymore. So they put out shit and the paid up shills continue to do the same thing. This is another thing that has to change in Hollywood. Stop giving these people early screenings. The more positive they are about a movie, the less we believe them. It's your marketing process. It's these kind of eccentric ideas that used to work that simply don't work anymore. So you need movie stars. You need young directors. You need new actors. You need film stars. You need to go back to the natural order of things. You need to tap in to every single genre. Was it Scott Mans? No, not Scott Mans, someone else anyway. And he asked this question on Twitter, I forgot the guy's name. And he said, when you go to a movie, what would you rather do? See the same thing and feel the same way as you did when you saw it, or see something new and feel like the way you felt another movie? And my answer was simple. I want to see new films with new ideas that make me feel a new way. I don't need no nostalgia because we've all got great collections of older movies. If we want to feel that way, we can feel that way. What Hollywood are doing now with their prequels, sequels and reimagining, they're doing a shitty one about Robin Hood starring Hugh Jackman, which will be shit. It's not the proper Robin Hood. He's old and it's the same thing as having Harrison Ford as Indy be old, useless. Same thing, bait and twist. We know what they're doing. They won't listen. They are not listening to us. And old Tessa wants to blame us. How dare you? How dare you say I don't have a right to complain? The day I don't have a right to complain for what I'm paying for is the day I die. I pay for D+. I pay for Netflix. I pay for Now TV. I pay for them all. I pay for my license fee even though I live here in Cyprus. I pay for them all. I go to the cinema when something attracts me. I want to go and see Megalopolis. That's a film I'm going to see. I want to go and see Joker because these are real fucking movies made by real filmmakers. And you're here blaming us for the decline in Hollywood. The reason we don't go to cinemas anymore in our droves is because the lack of quality isn't there. And you, Tessa, and your other influencers are part of this problem. And you need to be surgically removed as part of the marketing. You people should not have early screenings. It's bad enough that critics get early screenings, right? Fair enough. And I suppose they're a necessary evil. But these people, these fucking influencers, and then she's got the cheek to go on there with her big audience and blame us, blame the fans. Why are you still following her? Why are you still subscribing to her? This is what she thinks of you. She's blaming you for the decline in Hollywood, in the decline of quality of film and television and streaming. Everything. You're getting blamed. Every time their shit fails, they're blaming us. Why don't you look in the fucking mirror? Why don't you look in the mirror? Why don't you listen to people like me who have been watching films since I was a small boy? I don't want to watch the same stuff. I want you to be new. I want you to be revolutionary. When I turned on my TV back in 2001 and watched the pilot episode of 24, it was something new. It was something revolutionary. It was sharp. It was like nothing I've seen before. Did I think, oh no, this is not like the great stuff I had in the good old days? No, I was willing to jump on that horse, even though it was new and it was different, because ultimately it was compelling and it was entertaining. And this is what we don't get. Tessa, you are telling me that I should go, that we should go in our droves to watch mid-movies. Because the truth of the matter is, and I haven't seen The Fall Guy, admittedly, but I'm going to guess that it's a mid-tier movie that most people will forget about very, very quickly. It may be fun, it may be okay, it may be solid, but that's not a great movie. So the parameters of Hollywood and these studios and entertainment, English-speaking Western entertainment, has to change. And they refuse. They are refusing to change what they do. And this is the core problem. This is where we are. And this is why I say every day on social media and on my videos, Hollywood are not willing to change. So they're burning themselves alive. They're drowning in their own lava. So what has to happen is good, talented, passionate people that care about entertainment and the art form have to move away and build something new. Build new studios. So we can have so we can tap into the Geniers, so we can make musicals like they made in the 30s, we can make other movies, and we need to look at new ways of telling stories, because we're just getting the same thing, and it's been done. It worked in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the noughties. It's not working anymore. The same old stories with the same story beats. We need new people. We need the George Lucases. We need the Francis Ford Coppolas. We need the next generation of those people who are not going to do the same things. Those directors came from movie schools at a time when, the Warners and the Zenix were selling the studios. And, companies were buying up these studios, and they noticed that young people started to watch films, so they brought in young directors. This is what has to happen again. But Hollywood is locked in this echo chamber. This is why they won't change, because there's no new thinking. And all that's happening, it's a vicious circle. They're blaming us, we're blaming them. We're not in control. We can't, we're not going to the cinema. So a normal industry, instead of blaming its consumer, would say, we have to change. You, my friends, have to change. And as long as you don't change, and as long as you insist in doing the things the way you're doing them, you're going to lose. This infrastructure of false representation has to end. The only way that representation works if you allow everyone to apply for the jobs. The most talented people, no matter what colour they are, what gender they are, and they all audition, and the best people get the jobs. That's how you have genuine, representation and inclusion. But that's not what you want to do. You want to do quotas and you want to do things like that. And it's not working. And what you're doing is you have average CEOs running the studios, average people making the movies, and average people performing the movies. We're not at the heights of Hollywood anymore. They are at their lowest esteem they've ever been in. Empires, my friends, are destroyed from within. Businesses and empires are not destroyed by the consumer. What happens is the consumer has become tired of entertainment, of the gaslighting, of the mid-tier quality. I've been rewatching Smallville, as you all know, a top-tier television show written by very talented people, run by very talented people. Now, unless you understand how what you're doing is wrong, I can't help you. I can try and be an advisor and consultant. I can try and tell you, as a viewer of film, as a passionate lover of film, I can help you. I can advise you, but you're not listening. You're not listening to your customer. And when you don't listen to your customer, this is what happens. When you have the "we know better than you, we're the ones who make the movies" attitude, isn't going to work. Because ultimately, the customer may not know how to make the thing, but they know that they want to see quality. The customer should never tell you what to make. The customer never told them to make Running Man, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, right? But they made those movies because they wanted to make them. Someone had a passionate idea about making a movie. They thought it could work. They thought it could make money and it could make a great story. And that's why those movies happened. Pioneers used to run this industry. Now, pioneers are not being welcomed in the industry. Political activists are. What are political activists doing? Making streaming shows, making movies for cinematic theatrical release. They have no business to go there. I don't care if they're left or they're right. I am fed up of them. I'm fed up of them making speeches on fucking podiums like they're Martin Luther King. I'm sick of them. You need to surgically remove these people out of the industry. But as I say, this industry is not going to change. So the people who agree with me, the people the people out there, the people, graduating from film schools right now need to kind of move away, get out of LA. And people need to build up a new system, a new industry, that its core incentive is to be artistic, is to entertain. And if you entertain people, if you deliver good shit, you automatically make money. But when you insist on making movies out of bad ideas, because as I say, The Fall Guy could have been a cheap movie that could have made some money and everyone would have been happy. But they didn't do that. They spent a lot of money on it, a lot of money on the marketing. Now they're all upset that their investment hasn't worked. And, behind the scenes, they'll be blaming each other. But publicly, they'll be blaming us and say, you see, it's an original movie. It's not a fucking original movie. It's a reimagining of a 1980s television show. Stop fucking saying it's an original. It's not an original. You're only saying that because you think most of the audience don't know there was a TV show, and they probably don't. It's just yet another reimagining. Soon we'll be getting another fucking Planet of the Apes. As my dad used to say, how many more fucking times? Be original, be different, bringing new fresh talent into the industry, tap into the different genres. I'm not a genius. It's not rocket science. This is what you need to do. But while you've got political activists, right? Crazy people with blue streaky hair making the decisions, then you ain't going to progress. It doesn't matter who you have, right? I'm sure there's very talented trans people, very talented gay people, black people out there dying to get involved in the industry. But you're not tapping into the, to the clever people of those, demographics, right? And that's another problem as well. So unless Hollywood changes, unless the good people go and leave it and build new studios and a new industry, we're going to be having this conversation for a very, very long time. But you, Tessa Smith, you, Mama's Geeky, are not part of the solution. You are part of the problem.